Good evening, everybody, and good evening to Shireen in Salt River. Hello. And then also good evening to Para. I think it's Imogen. Hello.
Hi,
good.
Imogen.
There we go. Thank you for being here. Let's go on to our PowerPoint. And also remember to use the group chat if you have questions or comments to make.
Yeah.
Right, just to give you an overview of the last assignment, excellent results, so well done on that. And then also just tonight's presentation will deal very specifically with your last assignment, which is the forum discussion. And please review the past two tutorials very specifically, as it will help and aid you in terms of background information for your forum discussion. And then we'll just covering some social media topics with you that will also help with the last assignment. If we can go to the next slide, just a little bit more in-depth feedback on your assignment 3. Overall, excellent work. Thank you for your submissions. And just a reminder, and I seem to be rewriting these, you seem to lose marks when you don't reread the instructions and or the assessment criteria. So please remember to do that very specifically. Some of you threw marks away. And then also, if you could save your document in your own surname, it just helps quite a bit in terms of managing and administrating marks, etc. Thank you very much. And then on our next slide, I'm not going to go into detail as this is in your previous presentation, but just your topic is basically discuss the Department of Basic Education's policy guiding the provisioning of inclusive education in schools, and then also looking at the use of information technology in the schools, and then very specifically social media and how that would enhance the learning in the intermediate phase. And then also very specifically you can look at how it will enhance the teaching of children with learning barriers, as you've covered that topic as well. Also, just please reread this very carefully. It is also in your previous tutorial, your 4 major components in your discussion forum, and see to it that you actually do engage on each of those topics within your forum discussion. A recommended reading, if you can get hold of it, or for future use, engaging the disengaged. It basically deals with children who are unmotivated or children who are struggling to get engaged and pay attention within a classroom. A very worthwhile book to get, or even for your school to get, to help in terms of this aspect of teaching. Let's look very specifically at social media and its place in education, and I'll be running through some literature and a few videos for you. First one is looking at what is a connected teacher and what does it mean to be connected. It's a 4-minute YouTube video on interviews done with various teachers and what it means for them to be a connected teacher. I would advise you to perhaps re-look at this video at the conclusion in your own time. Let's look at the video.
Please just adjust the sound in the studios or for your own use. Right. Sorry.
Just a moment. It's the connecting. No, it's connecting. Connecting. Where was it? It was.
No. That one, vision.
No, it's connecting. That one.
The idea of collaboration was always within education. To look at thousands of years, educators will collaborate. but technology has taken us to a level where we can collaborate beyond our lives.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm a connected educator. My journey to being a connected educator started discovering this world of amazing other educators who were doing incredible things.
I think we're at a very unique moment in time. It's not just with the technologies that includes conversation, but then it also calls into question where are the core values of how teachers learn, how learners learn, how teachers learn, how much do they learn from each other?
It's the most impactful thing you can do in your career as an educator is to be connected. Otherwise, like, how do you know you're doing well? How do you know you have support and that you're using the best tools that you can possibly use?
I got my current job because of Twitter.
I don't think I can be an educator now without being connected. It has become an essential component of who I am and what I do. So for me, it's like the #1 necessary thing to be a 21st century educator, to be connected. Connected to colleagues, connected to students, connected to parents.
But you still got the sort of formal mechanisms for top-down conference session or the professional development training or whatever it is. But you've also got this hallway conversation, which all of a sudden through electronic means has become magnified. This incredible worldwide community where within minutes, somebody, an educator in Europe or in Australia or Japan, can be sharing ideas, they can be sharing ideas with each other.
The beauty of being connected is you can plug in any time of the day, no matter where you are.
And all of a sudden, you have educators previously isolated, now sharing information back and forth the way they would have.
As a librarian, it's like the one right there. I mean, you're by yourself, you're in the library, you know, you look around your community or your team and you're by yourself. So for other subjects, you know, play team, they meet, they have PLCs, and really don't have anyone else. So I rely on those online communities to give me that support that I could bring back to my students.
You know, I can tell more than one story of working on something literally in the middle of the night and putting something out on Twitter, asking a question about a piece of software or what the term is for something in education, and literally having, because everybody else in the Western Hemisphere was asleep, having people in Australia or New Zealand answer my question. And just be blown away by that within 5 minutes, getting feedback from that.
Most people I found that have built a personal learning network have sort of done it again. They've heard about Twitter from this, we've seen that on SportsCenter, they're doing into a conference, this or that, and they just started broadening and developing it, and it just becomes something that they realize all of a sudden, this is transformative, this is powerful.
You gotta ask, you gotta connect, and you gotta collaborate.
Well, as an educator, we're super busy, and so to meet my needs, it's really difficult to attend a training at X time or X place. So a lot of my needs are met online.
It's not just connected ed and connecting on the internet, it's connecting with peers and other teachers and scientists and other experts.
It really is collaboration and communication across not just disciplines, but philosophies and even practical projects is so crucial to us, our growth as educators. It's primary advice that I give to any new teacher or a teacher that's feeling from that, because that's in the way
We have to realize, you know, as educators, we always tell our students, we want you to do lifelong learning. Well, education doesn't stop with license. You have to be a lifelong learner. You know, too often we profess it, but we don't follow. And we have to get educators to consistently and constantly educate themselves. And the tools for education today lie in the technology.
Get connected, grow your network, accelerate your learning. Join hundreds of thousands of educators this October for Connected Educator Month. Sign up at connectededucators.org and follow hashtag CE13.
You didn't screen share it.
No picture, only sound.
idea of collaboration was always within education. Go back thousands of years, educators would collaborate. But technology has taken us to a level where we can collaborate beyond our wildest imagination.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm a connected educator. My journey to being a connected educator started about 4 years ago. Joined Twitter and started discovering this world of amazing other educators who are doing incredible things.
I think we're at a very unique moment in time. It's not just
I got my current job because of Twitter.
I don't think I could be an educator now without being a connected educator. It has become an essential component of who I am and what I do. So for me, it's like the number one necessary thing to be a 21st century educator is to be connected. Connected to colleagues, connected to students, connected to parents.
but you've still got the sort of formal mechanisms for top-down conference session or the professional development training or whatever it is. But you've also got this hallway conversation, which obviously through electronic means has become magnified. This incredible worldwide community where within minutes, somebody, an educator in Europe or Australia or Japan, can be sharing ideas, they can be sharing ideas with each other.
The beauty of being connected is you can plug in any time of the day, no matter where you are.
And all of a sudden, you have educators previously isolated, now sharing information back and forth the way they would have.
As a librarian, it's like the Lone Ranger. I mean, you're by yourself, you're in the library, you know, you look around for your community or your team, and you're by yourself. So for other subjects, you know, the LA team, they meet, they have PLCs, you really don't have anyone else. So I rely on this online communities to give me that support that I can bring back to my
I can tell more than one story of working on something literally in the middle of the night and putting something out on Twitter, asking a question about a piece of software or what the term is for something in education, and literally having, because everybody else in the Western to sleep, having people in Australia who review and answer my question. Just be blown away by that within 5 minutes, getting feedback.
Those people I found that have built a personal learning network. I've sort of done it organically. We've heard about Twitter from this, we've seen it on Sports Center, we've been to a conference, this or that, and they just started broadening and developing it, and it just becomes something that they realize all of a sudden, this is transformative, this is powerful.
You gotta ask, you gotta connect, and you gotta collaborate.
Well, as an educator, we're super busy, and so to meet my needs, it's really difficult to attend a training at X time or X place. So a lot of my needs are met online.
It's not just connected ed and connecting on the internet, it's connecting with peers and other teachers and scientists and other experts.
It really is collaboration and communication across not just disciplines, but philosophies and even practical projects is so crucial to us, our growth as educators. Primary advice that I'd give to any new teacher or any teacher that's feeling a little stagnant is to surround themselves with passionate educators from a multitude of different backgrounds, because that's when you really learn and grow.
We have to realize, you know, as educators, we're always telling our students we want you to be lifelong learners. Well, education doesn't stop when you get your teacher's license. You have to be a lifelong learner. You know, too often we're professors, but we don't follow. And we have to get educators to consistently and constantly educate themselves. And the tools for education today lie in the technology.
Get connected, grow your network, accelerate your learning. Join hundreds of thousands of educators this October for Connected Educator Month. Sign up at connectededucators.org and follow hashtag CE13.
There we go. Right one. Now you want your PowerPoint. Right, all right. Hurry.
Sorry about those glitches there, but it's all part of the process, and as you'll see with the next points, making mistakes are part of the process. Just a few pointers in terms of the mindset of a connected educator, looking at what is embedded in those skills to be able to communicate with the community, global community. Part of it is believing in sharing collaboration, and I think in education we're alone in the classroom and we do it alone, we go and prepare alone, and sometimes it becomes very difficult to share and collaborate with other people. So for some teachers that might be a hurdle, and it's also perhaps a hurdle to use technology to be able to teach and learn effectively, or to carry that across to learners. So look at those aspects. And then, as I mentioned, the second last point, the failure is part of the learning process, as we've experienced just now. The more you do it, the more smoother it becomes and more easier it becomes. I think the other important aspect is looking at professional development, and these need to happen from a macro level in terms of Department of Education that perhaps provide and spearheads those. So look out for conferences that provides that. And then also your own personal development. What are you doing to improve your skills? And I can promise you it's trial and error, trial and error. When I initially started, I made so many faux pas, but you do become better in the process. So really, and it's a really enriched journey. So go ahead with that. Looking at how to become a connected educator, just some pointers, and you can go back and just Google the lady, Ilana Leone, and go a little bit more. Once again, she also mentions embrace making mistakes, and that there's no one right way, it's your way. And part of that is finding your own learning community to connect with. And it's a case of jump in, do it, and as I said, you will find which social media or which platform suits you best, and perhaps even a specific subject the best. So go and look at that. I can also recommend EdCamp. Join them. They're quite a dynamic group, and you'll find that perhaps useful. Join a live virtual event like conferences or discussions on the internet and see how that works for you. And then also, I think a very important aspect is to block time for you to experience being connected, to practice the skill of being connected, and in that way you will enhance your own skill. And one of the easiest ways to start is to start blogging yourself. Let's look a little bit further in ways to connect or what platforms to be using. Twitter, I think if you have a Twitter account and you get your children to get involved, you can take a poll, pose a question. There are so many ideas that you can use and get children involved. And sometimes if you put it in terms of like a little treasure hunt for them to do, they become more engaged and more involved in the learning process, other than you just saying, today we're going to take a poll, blah, blah. So yes, look at Twitter, that if they don't have cell phones in the class, look at perhaps using one or two in a group situation, so look at that. Looking at online communities, there's Facebook that you can use, Classroom 2.2. Edmodo, I've used very successfully. It's basically a website that you can join free, and you can use it to virtually do all your admin on. You can post comments for students in terms of their assignments. You can put questionnaires on there. You can put your assignments on there. You can put discussion groups on it. So one of the aspects that I will think that you might want to go and explore a little bit more. Then also look at Google Plus and ASCD Edge. ASCD is basically a publishing house, and they've opened a chat room or a social platform also for teachers and educators to discuss. So look at that. And then, as we had in the video, use your social media with parents as well. You can send them the latest research or a questionnaire, or invite them into a discussion, or even inviting them to a meeting with you. And looking at what is so-called new tools. Most of them have been around since 2006. Skyping. Instead of getting a guest speaker into your school, which sometimes is difficult in terms of time and funding, have a guest speaker that you can Skype. And for that, for the children, and also you have the immediacy of questioning and interaction with the learners as well. At the previous school that I was, we Skyped with learners internationally, and they used to be so excited before we opened up the Skype, etc. Just once again, with all these platforms, careful preparation if you involve the learners. Use Pinterest in terms of posting or collating information that you can share, because part of being connected is sharing what you have. Feedly, I found is quite a useful platform as well in terms of having a place where you can centralize all your information, very similar to Edmodo. So look at that. And then Flipboard is sort of a more magazine style of information, so you can also look at that platform for yourself. And then once again, as mentioned before also, and also in the video link, look at sharing your projects with other teachers and integrating perhaps subjects and or topics for shared use. You can perhaps have a topic, and in art and geography or whatever, it can be integrated, and you post a combined project for the learners on that. Let's look at the next slide. Just some terminology and connections strategies that you can use for learners. There is the so-called front loading, also known as the reverse classroom, where you actually post the lessons beforehand for the learners as homework. So perhaps questionnaire or some reading for them to do. And when they arrive in the class, they technically have the information, which then means that you perhaps just need to clarify, solidify, or reconcile their prior knowledge, and then you can start with the lesson, or even immediately jump into a social media platform. It's also for those of you who are engaged in social media called the flipped classroom, where they do the pre-work at home and come to the classroom, and there's more active involvement as opposed to the teacher just delivering the information. Fan pages, for example, on Facebook, you can create a fan page. And fan page here, not so much the person, like a popular person, a film star, etc., but a fan page for perhaps a topic. For example, explorers, or how do you go exploring, or the most theories within a specific subject like maths perhaps, or a fan page for timetables, and so children can go and visit those and then basically sharpen their skills as well. Another strategy to use is microblogging. For example, Twitter, or sorry, start typing it, Today's Meet, which is similar to Twitter, where they can do microblogging. And microblogging, because of its shortness, places the emphasis on the fact that children need to crystallize their ideas, and in few sentences basically give the essence of a lesson or concept, which means that you can very quickly know whether they understand or not. And then also another strategy is so-called back-channeling, is where while you are presenting a lesson, the learners can carry on a Twitter conversation about that lesson in terms of giving you direct feedback that they understand the lesson, or not, or they'll ask for another explanation, etc. So just some strategies that you can use while you're using social media in your classroom. And yes, it does take time to get more familiar and fluent within these strategies, but practice and it does become perfect. Emerson used to say, the mind, once stretched by a new idea, never returned to its original dimension. And I can promise you, if you start using all these strategies, you'll wonder how you ever taught. So it does make teaching exciting. And then once again, also, we talk about the 21st century and we're living in the 21st century and the learners of 21st century, but we need to really actively engage in 20th century skills as well if you want to be successful and capture the learner's attention. Just another slide in terms of when we're dealing with social media, it is a resource. And also it makes your teaching engaging, relevant, and culturally diverse. And as you heard from the video, you get various responses immediately from various cultures or countries as well. I think the main or key word here in terms of social media is collaboration. So always be aware of that you are collaborating and sharing ideas. I think for you to be able, for your collaboration to be successful, is that you need to have your core values in place, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in terms of planning your social media implementation in the class. Another book for you to perhaps access, and also if you Google Megan Poor, you'll find that she does have wikis and some learning material in terms of how to use social media in the classroom. So explore that if you have time to go and do that as well. And then another video, which I'm not going to show tonight. It's rather long. It's about 18 minutes, but well worth your while to go and visit. It's presented by Ken Robertson, who's quite a fundi in terms of creativity and how to turn teaching around so that it becomes engaging for learners in terms of creativity, igniting curiosity and imagination. So please go and look at that. I think very specifically also the last I would say 5 minutes of his presentation is quite meaningful in terms of how do we escape being in an education death valley and make it exciting for learners, and not why must I come to school when I can read it on Google, and what else is the teacher bringing to this table to make me want to be at school. Planning for social media, as I mentioned before, planning is essential, and I think before you engage you need to put certain things in place. The diagram is just a guide for you. Obviously yours might change differently in terms of the ethos of your school or how big or how small you're engaging, but there are some pointers for you to go through on your own and engage. But I think the main thing for technology, and in my own personal experience, is integrating your various platforms effectively, and that can only happen through experience and trying. And then also looking at professional ethics in terms of guiding rules for your learners, your parents, and I think the school needs to have a policy in place to deal with this as well. Just some, once again, going on from the previous slide, I think on the one side, collaboration, communication, critical thinking and problem solving, information utilization, and professional competence and values would be your main aspects that you need to look at, and then you can use various themes. Those are just some suggestions for you to follow on. Looking at our next slide. Also planning for your social media. Kathy Cook is also quite prolific on the internet in terms of using social media in the classroom. One of the things that she does emphasize quite strongly is the establishment of guidelines for when children go online. And I think also parents are quite wary of allowing their children to go online when they're not present. And if you have a policy and quite straightforward guidelines, not too many, they would be more at ease in the terms of allowing their children to engage in that medium. Let's look at how you can make it work in your classroom or in your school. Allocate time for professional development. I think in most schools that have done successful implementation of social media, it has been preceded by professional development. Some schools even spend a whole year in terms of professional development, training their teachers up for that process. Some schools do it in tandem, professional development, as they are implementing and using the various platforms. So look at those. Re-imaging the ecosystem and offerings. And what they technically mean by that is look at the dynamics of your classroom, what it is that you will offer, what are you comfortable and afraid with, and implementing that in your school. It's also meaning that your school culture will change, so you need to look at what will change in your school and how you will manage that change effectively. I think in terms of implementing social media in your school does depend on trust and also support for it to be effective. So look at those issues. Redefining leadership. It's not that you're taking away leadership. I think you're basically flattening the base here in terms of you are, as a teacher, is not the only leader now. Learners themselves can become leaders, and it's a valuable skill for learners to learn as well. And then also looking at creating meaningful mentorship opportunities for both teachers, learners, and perhaps parents. Then also just a short video to watch again. The first one is what are we doing here, and it's basically looking at what happens in a classroom, or what is technically supposedly happening in classrooms at the moment. The second video I would like you to go and look at by yourselves, and looking at what it means to be involved in the global conversation and what is the impact. When schools started using social media, everybody said we're jumping on a bandwagon, it's not going to work. But it's actually taken off to such an extent that if you don't do it, you are actually left behind. But let's look at the YouTube video, and then we can discuss that further.
What's it called?
It's the one that says...
That's a slow.
It's where are we going, I think. Vision, that's it.
Just speak it. Speak to them.
It seems that we're having some glitches. We'll try and sort that out, but let's go on with the lesson, and perhaps at the end, if there's time, we can come back. But please go on your own time. I will post the PowerPoints for you, and then you can access these videos. On that specific page, those two videos belong together. In the second one, which is a little bit longer, it's about 18 minutes, and the lecturer actually explains why he has posted that, and he did that in collaboration with his students. So look at that one very specifically. In the last sort of 5 minutes, also he explains why social media has become our global conversation and what impact it has on teaching and learning. And for those who did have image, you would have seen students basically stating how they access and what time they spent on various social media platforms. And basically the conclusion is that most of their time is spent there, other than the old traditional handbook that they look at. We can go to the next slide. Just a reminder once again of how the mindset has changed in terms of as we made this paradigm shift in looking at learning on the internet. Go through that. Where we previously worked with materials, etc., as our artifacts, we are now working more so with enabling services and also tools for mediation and relating and a collective intelligence in the sense of collaboration more so than the individual. And if you look at that, the last video of the website that I've given you, that will make a little bit more sense in the terms of how we're learning and what we're giving into the world and how people are collaborating. And there's an example of an advert. So look at that, the Dove soap advert. And then also an example of somebody who arrived at the airport and there was nobody to greet him, and what he did about that in terms of mediating and relating to surrounding people at the airport. And I think that's quite a good example in terms of what happens in your classroom. If you're not connecting with learners and relating to them, you will lose them. So yes, very important in terms of looking at the mindset is currently within your classroom. It does impact on how children will engage in your classroom. And then just lastly, I'm looking forward to reading your contributions in the discussion forum, and please give your examples of what you've experimented or had success with, and share that with all of us. And then just remember, Dewey said students or learners learn what they do, and what are you doing in the classroom for them to learn effectively. Thank you and good night, everybody.